Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, a murderous terror attack plagues central Israel. A historic two-day summit concludes earlier today, in which the four ministers of Israel, the United States, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, and Bahrain agreed to deepen cooperation on a number of key issues. The Palestinian Authority's leadership in Ramallah voices outrage over the Arab world's normalization with the State of Israel. A historic two-day summit in which Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid hosted his counterparts from the United States, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, and Bahrain in the southern Israeli community of Sde Boker concluded earlier today. Prior to the foreign dignitaries' arrival to Israel, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett voiced his deep appreciation of Jerusalem's elevated international standing amid shifting sands throughout the greater Middle East and North Africa.
זה יום חגיגי ומרגש מאוד. אנחנו מארחים כאן בארץ את פסגת הנגב. שרי החוץ של מצרים, איחוד האמירויות, מרוקו, בחריין, יגיעו לשדה בוקר למפגש עם השר לפיד ועם מזכיר המדינה בלינקן. למי שעדיין לא שם לב, יחסי החוץ של ישראל בתקופה טובה. ישראל היא שחקן חשוב על במת העולם והאזור, ואנחנו מטפחים קשרים ישנים ובונים קשרים חדשים. בשבוע שעבר בפגישה עם הנשיא סיסי ויורש היצר של האמירויות, היה רגע מכונן. השלום הישן שלנו עם מצרים פגש את השלום החדש של הסכמי אברהם. ואנחנו כולנו יוצקים עוד ועוד תוכן מדיני, כלכלי, ביטחוני בתוך הקשרים האלה שקיימים לא מעט שנים כדי לייצר פה קשר בין המדינות המתונות במזרח התיכון. אני שמח לראות את המשך הקו הזה גם במפגש בשדה בוקר.
Merely several hours after the respective American and Arab top diplomats arrived in Israel, the elevated excitement regarding the magnitude of the multilateral summit was somewhat dimmed when a deadly terror attack plagued the central Israeli city of Hadera, situated northward from Tel Aviv. The incident occurred around 8:30 yesterday evening when two heavily armed Islamist terrorists arrived by car to Hadera's Herbert Samuel Street, which is located near a bustling shopping area, and opened fire toward two off-duty border police troops sitting at the bus stop, killing them at the scene, after which the terrorists started firing in multiple directions toward pedestrians and vehicles in their immediate vicinity. In what pedestrians and security officials remarked as a miracle, an off-duty special operations team from the undercover Hamas unit was seated at a nearby restaurant during the attack. Consequently, seconds after the heinous attack occurred, the off-duty officers responded to the incident, neutralizing the two terrorists before they managed to persist with their murderous intent. Regrettably, 4 of the service members were injured during the course of the gun battle. 2 were diagnosed in moderate condition and 2 are being treated with light injuries.
מדובר באירוע קשה שנפגעו בו לוחמי משמר הגבול במהלך לחימה כנגד 2 מחבלים. אני ועוד 2 לוחמים מהיחידה הגענו בכדי לאכול במסעדה. שמענו קולות ירי, יצאנו ישר מתוך המסעדה על מנת להבין את הכיוון הירי ומה מתרחש. התחלנו לרוץ לאותו כיוון ששמענו את הירי. 2 לוחמים שלי ביצעו לחימה עם 2 מחבלים. אני הגעתי מאית השנייה אחריהם, כאשר אני מזהה מחבל מולי עם אפוד קרמי עליו, שעליו גם 3 מחסניות. אוחז ב-M16 ומבצע ירי לכיוון הלוחמים. אני מזהה אותו ומנטרל אותו. באותו זמן, 2 הלוחמים שלי שביצעו ירי לזווית שלא הייתה לי ברורה בשלב הראשון. בדיעבד אני מבין שהיה מחבל נוסף שהסתתר מאחורי רכב. אחד הלוחמים שלי חטף כדורים ונפל. אני, בהבנה שיש מחבל נוסף מאחורי הרכב, פותח זווית, מזהה אותו ומבצע ירי לעברו ומנטרל אותו.
It is important to highlight that the Islamist Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad organizations warmly welcomed the deadly act of terror, proclaiming it to be a justified response to the multilateral summit in the southern Israeli community of Sde Boker. Nevertheless, several hours after the murderous attack culminated, the Islamic State, which regards both Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad as rivals, claimed responsibility for the act of terror. Meanwhile, at the historic summit in the southern Israeli community of Sde Boker, multilateral meetings proceeded as scheduled. Subsequently, during a multilateral press conference, Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid seized the opportunity to proclaim that the goals of those seeking to terrorize Israel will not succeed.
Last night, for the second time in a week, terror struck in the heart of Israel. At the heart of Israel in two senses. In the heart of the country, in a crowded city, and also in the heart of every Israeli citizen. This was murder for the sake of murder, terror for the sake of terror. These terrorists fired in every direction with one goal: to kill as many innocent people as possible, to shed as much blood as possible. I send my condolences to the families of the murdered and my wishes for the full and speedy recovery of the wounded. Our thoughts and prayers are with them today. Shortly after the attack, Islamic Jihad and Hamas praised it. They declared that it was a response to the Negev summit we are holding here. The terrorist goal is to intimidate us, to make us afraid to meet and to build relationships and the agreements between us. They will not succeed.
Minister Lapid further announced that an agreement was made to turn the multilateral summit into a permanent forum to further bolster cooperation between the participating nations and invited others to join, including the Palestinian leadership in Ramallah. Furthermore, according to Jerusalem's top diplomat, the new forum provides for a new regional architecture to deepen security cooperation aimed at confronting common threats, including, chiefly, the Islamic Republic of Iran.
What we are doing here is making history, building a new regional architecture based on progress, technology, religious tolerance, security, and intelligence cooperation. This new architecture, the shared capabilities we are building, intimidates and deters our common enemies, first and foremost, Iran and its proxies. They certainly have something to fear. What will stop them is not hesitation or being conciliatory, but rather determination and strength.
Alongside aspirations to deepen security cooperation, the respective top diplomats highlighted their aspiration to revive the long-stalled Palestinian-Israel peace process, as well as the necessity to deepen economic cooperation.
It's by us standing together, it's by our people-to-people relationship, it's by creating a better environment for our businesses to work with each other. That's the way we can go after the narrative of hate, of incitement, of terror. We will prevail, no doubt. It's going to cost us, but it matters.
We have to be clear that these regional peace agreements are not a substitute for progress between Palestinians and Israelis. One of the issues we discussed today was how countries involved in the Abraham Accords and normalization, as well as those that have long-standing diplomatic relationships with Israel, can support the Palestinian Authority and the Palestinian people in concrete ways and have a positive impact on the daily lives of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. This is a conversation we'll carry forward so that we can work toward our goal of Palestinians and Israelis enjoying equal measures of freedom, security, opportunity, and dignity, and create the conditions for a negotiated two-state solution.
This round of discussions has given us an opportunity to highlight views related to how we can further progress in achieving our common objectives, and it certainly did, during these discussions, we did highlight the importance of the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, the importance of maintaining the credibility and the viability of the two-state solution, that for Israel and a Palestinian state to live side by side in peace, with recognized borders for a Palestinian state in accordance with the 67 lines, with East Jerusalem as its capital.
It is important to know that prior to this Debokil summit, Palestinian Authority Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh voiced outrage. In remarks to his government in Ramallah, Shtayyeh stressed, quote, "We're following with concern Israel's movement in the region. Arab normalization meetings without ending the Israeli occupation of Palestine are just an illusion, a mirage, and a free reward for Israel." It is important to separately note that while the summit was taking place in the southern Israeli community, Jordanian King Abdullah II visited Ramallah, where he held extensive discussions with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on the latest developments related to the Palestinian question. Thank you for watching us. As part of TV7 Israel's daily prayer initiative, I would like to encourage you today to pray for the situation revolving Russia and Ukraine, in addition to prayers for our persecuted brothers and sisters worldwide, and for the peace of Jerusalem and the salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.